Audio. Hi, and welcome to the Lessons Learned podcast. We're now just gone live with my friend here, Chapelmon. And this is the one about Andromeda, since he played it to the end, so to speak, and so have I.
Oh,
So we're gonna be talking about that. Um, and but before we do that, we're gonna do a little bit of the news, which is there's some news. But everybody's basically gearing up for
E3.
E3. So basically, all the news from here on in are going to be probably related to it in one way or another. The two big pieces of news that we have to talk about are EA and Bioware related. Um, EA basically did a mea culpa. It
Mm.
said that they were sorry, that they learned lessons, you know, that thing with the battlefront and the thing and the dad, and they should have done things better, and because this is important, and a lot of corporate speak. But if you've been playing around with video games, especially those made by EA, for quite a while, you know that this is not the first time they've done this. So it's I don't know if this is gonna be an apology tour or just a quick, yeah, we're listening, blah blah blah. Here you go. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's it's PR talk, and of course they've also talked about restructuring some people, moving, shifting people around to in terms of big name people and
Hmm. Oh.
creative departments and whatnot, just to make sure, hey, we're not gonna repeat our mistake again with all these microtransactions and what we did. But you can put I'm sure they did that when they were named the worst company ever for 2 years straight. Which
Um,
I don't know. I assume that after restructuring at that point, we ended up at this point.
Yeah. It and also the people that we talked about are basically the same kind of names that pop up all the time and have basically said some of the things that were pretty tone deaf. So it's like you're not really getting rid of these people. You're sort of shifting the chairs around. Like, oh, you go over there and you get more responsibility over here, and you're like, but these are the folks that go out there and they open their mouths and people are like, oh, good lord, they actually talk. Why did they let anybody talk? So I guess that's the thing. Talking about the Electronic Arts, especially Bioware, Casey Hudson also talked about stuff
Yeah.
in the typical Bioware way, which they don't really say, "Oh, we screwed up." It's like, "No, no, we should have done this," and you shouldn't have left the story left behind. Well, not saying that we actually made a mistake. We're just saying that you
Yeah,
shouldn't do that.
we learned our lesson.
Yeah, again, sort of. But buy Anthem when it
Yep,
comes out. Whenever we're probably gonna get news about Anthem this E3. Probably
probably.
it's gonna be announced for next year because it already was delayed. But we haven't seen any new Be Real footage, so it's just simply the same guys jumping up the mountain and jetting around in their
Yeah,
jetpacked.
with their poorly their poor real gamer banter.
Hmm. So again, I don't know what to say about that either. I mean, it's Casey Hudson, and if people who remember the debacle of the ending of Mass Effect 3, I'm being diplomatic there. Um, it's he was in charge of that, and so it's like, oh yeah, the same again. It's the same example of someone who, when asked about a situation, his answer was artistic integrity.
Yep.
So you have the thing is that you have people who are historically tone deaf, time and time again, saying, "Oh, we're listening," which is like,
Hmm.
what?
We're listening, but oh no, we're not budging on this part. Artistic integrity.
Or microtransactions, or live services, or loot boxes, or loot crates. You know, that's like okay. Then we have Xbox, who is the people at Xbox are betting heavily on backwards compatibility.
Mm-hmm.
A good thing if you're a longtime Xbox player, right?
Yeah.
And you,
I actually have some old Xbox, few old Xbox One games that I've just happened to inherit, and I still have my Xbox 360 collection.
hmm but for those people who, but I think it's good if you stay loyal to Xbox, especially if
Mm-hmm.
you've been playing Xbox games since at least original Xbox, right? Oh, we're gonna bring this game in and this game back, and I mean, I would like to see like old titles. Uh, Depending on it depends on the Robotech games and some other obscure titles come back. But at the same time, if you either did like myself, like I jumped to PC or went to PlayStation or now playing the Switch or whatever, there isn't enough there for you to come
Yeah.
back, right?
Yeah, and then of course I think a lot, but that's the thing. A lot of people when they switch generations, they tend to get rid of their old content. Like with in my family, we tend to when we jump to a new generation, we tend to like give our old consoles and games to like either younger siblings, younger cousins, less privileged cousins in Mexico,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the way it goes. We don't tend to keep those games.
Yeah. And if you make the change, then it's like, well, I played those games, I experienced them, and now, of course, and when emulation is a bit of a dirty word, right there, almost right there with piracy, almost. But the fact of the matter is that older hardware can actually be transformed into emulated boxes, and as the newer hardware comes along, it's easier to emulate older hardware on PC as well. And also,
Hmm.
a lot of the Xbox games are also available in one form or another on PC or PlayStation, stuff like that, right? We're not really talking about a huge catalog of exclusives,
Yeah.
which would be the thing why people want to keep an Xbox or come back to the Xbox, both for the older exclusives and whatever's coming down the pipeline. We haven't heard a lot about new games. There have been whispers about going back to Fable again, and of course you have your Halos. But aside from that, I mean, PlayStation 4, which is I saw it on sale like 395 or 355 at Costco, right? And that's
Yeah.
the PlayStation 4 Plus. Has a much stronger library of first party and exclusives. Plus, they can play all the other games that are available to Xbox and many games that are available to um, on
PC.
PC as well, right? Um, they're at a comfortable price. It's not right now the most powerful machine, bit for bit, right? The Xbox One X is supposed to be the most powerful console out there, but time and time again, and the lowest common denominator has been the machine with the right price at the right time and the right catalog of games, which Xbox is still playing catch up. And then of course you have again we talked about the last week is that you have the new upcoming, which is Switch, which also has a lot of games coming out. Although there's a piece of news with Switch was that the remake of Dark Souls, the original Dark Souls, was going to become it's going to be on time for Xbox, PlayStation, Xbox One, and PlayStation, Xbox One X, and PC, but not for the Switch.
It got delayed.
It got delayed. Now, we'll say, well, the Switch is a much weaker platform. Although this is a remake of an older game, so really, it's all about accommodating to. I mean, compared to even the Switch compared to any of the games platforms that ran that game back in the day, which were the Xbox 360, the PCs back then, and of course the PlayStation 3. It has a horsepower, comparatively
Yeah.
speaking, so it
The
can do that. Yeah.
I would assume that the issue would probably be the getting the resolutions down for the tiny screen, and then like getting the controllers are not quite the same.
And that basically the Switch essentially uses cartridges in the
Yeah.
form of memory, memory cards. So that could be those, but it's gonna come out. But I think that's a small snag on the otherwise excellent record so far the Switch has, right? If there becomes a pattern, though, that could hurt the Switch in the future. But there's no indications that that's going to be a pattern. We've seen a couple of
No,
games delayed, but not enough to slow down the train, so to speak.
yeah, not necessarily. Like the PlayStation 3 had that issue because it had such a foreign architecture compared to
Hmm.
the Wii and the 360. It I don't think it necessarily delayed, but I did notice that like PlayStation 3 games that were on multiple consoles did have their own set of bugs and issues.
Hmm. Um, and that could be a thing, but I don't think it's going to be much of a problem, at least not yet. Again, it has to become a pattern before it really becomes a problem. And Nintendo's being very careful with that stuff. So again,
Yep.
I think this generation, if we're gonna go by generations, it's PlayStation and Switch, and they really are not really competing directly with each other. You
Hmm.
know, the Switch is a sort of extended mobile market, the bridge between mobile market and console, which is a perfectly good niche for them. And PlayStation 4 being the PlayStation 4 Plus being the perfect example of the so-called lowest common denominator in consoles is sitting pretty.
Yep.
Um, I did see. I don't think we talked about this before, but Super Bonnie Hub did a video about the PlayStation 4 and its VR,
Hmm.
which um he seemed to fall in love with it. Like many people become converts to VR, but there's still a big hurdle of VR, and I
Yeah.
think that it's not even price wise; it's conceptually wise, right? VR is still being sold as if you were like buying a new monitor or something, right? Like the new
Yeah.
way to see games. But I think most people are gonna say, no, no, this is just another peripheral, and spending as much money on your peripheral as you do on your main machine is not a value proposition for most people, right?
No.
If you have the cash, you're willing to save, and you really want to have that experience, fine. But overall, not a good thing. And also the standards of what it makes good VR are still all over the place. So I think I think it's most of this is going to be another spurt that's going to push VR forward, but I don't think unless you can find a VR solution that is, you know, flexible enough for different type of users, such as people who want to have the whole room but also have a sitting down experience, and B, it has to be like $100 or less.
Yeah.
I
Like
think that's the price, relatively
yeah,
speaking.
$300 for and I think that's just the base with the camera and
Hmm.
the headset. It's just way too much. I already struggled trying to buy the PlayStation 4 for what was it like 350 when I was on sale.
Yeah, and other news that we didn't talk about last week, but Far Cry 5 has done very well in sales, in spite of everything. I mean, personal opinions aside. So Ubisoft has had a very strong showing this year. I think probably the strongest among the big, releases early on. Um, so that's a thing. Um, but I don't know where they're gonna go with that next. Again, E3 will probably point the way, which means we'll have to knuckle down and watch all of E3 and ignore the riff tracks and all that. So,
Yeah, so I was just at Target a couple hours ago. I
mm,
didn't post this to Twitter yet, but I took a picture of it. I was looking at their video game aisle and I found their or they had Far Cry 5 for $60 there, but they didn't actually have any copies of the game, but
mhm.
in its place was the Life is Strange Before the Storm. I'm like, oh, that looks like a game I want to play right there. I'll pay $60 for Far Cry 5.
Mhm.
Maybe it would have been a better maybe it would have had a better ending.
Yeah. Overall story, by the way, but there you go. Um, so There's really not much news to talk about, so I think we can dig into our discussion of Andromeda. Uh, and I think Andromeda is still relevant. People are like, you're gonna talk about a game that is a year old. Ugh, it's like still relevant because it has a lot of issues that Far Cry 5 has, and many other games. And as E3 is coming up, it's one of the two games, particularly talking about EA, that sort of being the big stumbling blocks last year, which are sort of carrying over, in spite of the success of Battlefront 1, for EA this session. I think that's going to be the focus. I think they either going to try to completely ignore it, like it never happened, or they're going to try to show we've done better. Which also reminds me, by the way, that Battlefront was supposed to be EA's sort of apology for the mistakes they made in the
Yeah, battle.
reboot. I can call
Yeah,
the first Battlefront, because there've been two Battlefronts before that. The things that were missing in the original, and not the original, the rebooted Battlefront, were supposed to be in Battlefront 2, but then whoops.
whoops.
So let's talk all things Andromeda. I don't know where we can
Well,
begin. I guess.
first off, I'll say that you were definitely right. Joel is definitely my thing. I did enjoy Joel.
Yeah, he's a very interesting character overall. Uh, I
But
really like the the framing of I was very afraid they were gonna mess up the sort of meeting of these two people, right? Uh, and I think they could have focused more on that. Perhaps that would have been a thing.
yeah, but yeah, so this game, I nearly gave up on it at various times, and at every single point, it's the exact same point. It's whenever I came to a new planet, I just wanted to throw the controller and turn the game off because it's like, hey, remember that thing you did on the other planets? Guess what? Guess what you get to do? You get to drive around in your dumb buggy, fight a bunch of enemies that don't matter,
Hmm.
and do a bunch of stuff for people to make them happy so that the planet makes the planet livable somehow. Rinse, repeat 5 times. And
Hmm.
well, actually, I'll take that back. There is one planet, the one planet I did enjoy. It had its downsides, but was the Haval, which
Hmm.
was I assume they didn't really quite say it, but I think it's the Angaran homeworld. It's the
Yes, it is.
forest one.
Yeah, the forest one. Yeah, the one that you don't have the Doom Boogie.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I like it because it was a small map. It was I could walk it. I didn't need to drive around in it. And I could take care of my stuff. The enemies were annoying as hell because I was playing on the hardest difficulty.
Hmm.
And while we're on subject of difficulty, it is such fake difficulty because it all the fiends, whenever I got into a fight and there was a fiend, it didn't matter if both my squad mates and my little remnant robot thing
Hmm.
that had like the skill that it pulls aggro,
Hmm.
all three of them could have been shooting at it. I could have been hiding from like hundreds of feet away behind a crate, not shoot at it, and it would just follow me. It would come right at me, ignore the other three targets that are shooting at it, and just follow me around everywhere all over the map. I'm like, this isn't difficult. It's annoying as hell.
Yeah, the AI of Mass Effect games have always been like they almost always target the main player first and foremost,
Yeah,
which you could exploit by saying, okay, if I have strong teammates. Although I think again we
no.
talked about this in the past that the formula is that they either do their damage is overall reduced by 40%, or they do only 40% of the damage that you do yourself. But
Yeah,
the way you can still do it with using abilities and powers was that they focus on you, you take cover, and then you use their powers and your abilities to knock them down or disrupt them and then kill them. But here, because they have, they can literally shoot across the map, especially in these open maps,
Oh yeah, they can shoot me. They can shoot me with pinpoint accuracy with an assault rifle from like thousands of feet away.
and you can barely see them
Yeah,
or shoot them.
yeah, and that's what I had to do was just like go like the earlier maps that they were difficult because I was so under leveled and everything,
Hmm.
and I literally had to just like shoot at people with my pistol at a distance and hope that I was hitting them, and to the point where like Yeah. Oh, hey, I killed it. Yay, from like way far away.
Yeah, that's why I chose to like. Once I figured out, I was like, hey, you have to sort of come in, like barrel into them, right? Run into a place we can, jump into cover immediately. Otherwise, you're gonna get obliterated, or get a sniper rifle, a
Yeah.
good sniper
I
rifle, and just snipe them. It gets this open terrain, so
and that's what I ended up doing. And yet, even with the sniper rifle, I do such horrible damage. It would take like 5 headshots to kill someone.
gotta get the right sniper rifle.
Yeah.
Well, although some enemies were very bullet spongy, which I think is also what happened with the increased difficulty. It's the tweaking of the spreadsheet, right? More hit
Yep.
points, more life bars, more this, more that, and just have them move faster. So they literally predict your shot, so they jump to the side, and you're like, but how they,
Yeah.
you literally see the shot going in, and they like.
Yep.
But
Uh,
let's start at the beginning, and the beginning is also the end. Every end
yeah.
is a beginning. Every beginning is an end. And of course, we're going to talk about the ending of Mass Effect 3. Not the specifics of it, although we might touch on that, but rather that Andromeda seemed to be a reaction to the reaction.
Yep.
Um, to say that the ending of Mass Effect 3, the actual ending, not the entire game or the series necessarily, but the ending itself, the reaction was mixed, is to be, again, diplomatic. But I mean, people are all over the place, and some people love it to this day, and they'll defend anything, and some people hate it to this very day, and will attack it at any opportunity. I made a video about that, so you can go on my YouTube channel, check it out. More about how people feel about this rather than the actual ending itself, because that's been debated back and forth, and it's a waste of time. But as a reaction to that, essentially BioWare decided, okay, we're gonna go to a completely new galaxy, completely new character. Forget Shepard. We're gonna have Ryder slash the Pathfinder. We're gonna go to Andromeda. We're gonna start fresh. But early on, they decided, oh, but we're listening to the way the people on the forums are talking, the people who stay loyal to these games no matter what. And I think that's the first thing that Andromeda has is an identity crisis,
Yeah. It.
because it tried to do three things at the same time. It tried to get new players involved, which is always the goal, right? More sales than before. But also keep the players that already had, and at the same time bring back the players that were disillusioned with how Mass Effect 3 ended and the series ended.
Yeah.
And it succeeded. For what I've seen from fan reactions and the like, it's only succeeded in 1 out of 3. Right? It didn't necessarily bring a lot of people to Andromeda. It's like, oh no, I never played Mass Effect, but I'm going to play this game. This is a game I want to play and enjoy. Didn't really work that way. And for people like, I think, ourselves, who can both share this position, people who were somewhat disappointed or very disappointed with the ending of Mass Effect 3, we didn't see anything new that
No.
really was like compensated for what happened before.
No. And some of the ideas behind, like, oh, we're gonna sort of shove in the fact that the whole Milky Way galaxy had the Reaper issues and just kind of make it a soft plot, and it's not resolved either.
Yeah.
It's just
Oh,
kind of.
by the way, I should I say, and I'm going to put it
Yeah.
on the. We are going to spoil the hell out of this.
Yeah.
Spoilers, sorry. So
So
spoilers. I just put.
so
Go ahead.
let's talk about the small mechanic first.
Mm-hmm,
So your father dies, unfortunately,
mm-hmm,
who has this AI in his head, but and so do you, but he has this super unlocked version of the AI named Sam. And right before he dies, he transfers control to you and makes your version of it super unlocked.
mm-hmm,
And Sam has sort of like these memory implants of his father and knows everything his father knows, but somehow also locked away those set memories and like knowledge
mm-hmm.
because. And then you have to go around and find these they call them memory triggers. They might as well just be memory shards or memory fragments
Mm-hmm.
on random planets everywhere. Just all the planets that you can find, they're just there. These glowing bits
Mm-hmm.
that he's never been to, that have no idea these planets exist. They're just there, and you just go up to him. The writer he has like the small headache, and Sam be like, "Oh, hey, a memory trigger. Either you found enough to where he unlocks a new memory that you can go back to the Hyperion and see, or oh, you got to find some more. Got to find more of these to unlock this next memory."
I think the
And,
best explanation is that these places look familiar because of places that he has been in the Milky
yeah,
Way galaxy.
it's not, that's not even like mentioned at all, and it's not like something like Breath of the Wild where
Mm-hmm.
Link can't remember things and then he sees something and it sort of triggers his memory, sort of like, oh, a kid hugging his mom. That reminds me of something. And it's something sort of related. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's no, it's just there in the environment. You go up to it and that's it.
Yeah.
And these memories end up kind of amounting to nothing.
Yeah, well, they're supposed to. I didn't find them all of them because, again, I get to the point where I was like, and this is another aspect of the game. It's like I was just got tired of running around. I was like, oh, I just want to
Yeah.
finish the game. So, and then I finished the game. It's like, well, maybe I'll continue playing a little bit more to clean up. What I was like, nope, no. I just went in and uninstalled the game, and I haven't played it since. And I don't.
Yeah.
It's too much of a. I think that's the thing. That the main problem is, ironically, it's too big. And even comparing
Yes.
it to, I tried to play Dragon Age Inquisition on stream, but for some reason, um OBS was feeling fine, but I don't know, it was chugging. It was the FPS was dropping, and that didn't happen when I played it by myself. So I has to be some strange confluence of, streaming it, and maybe, the game is not really optimized for that and can't share the memory or something. So I had to quit. But I was playing it, and Inquisition also has a lot of repetitive stuff. Like you have to go, the
Hmm.
and collect things, and to get power and stuff like that. But at least the connections and explanations were a little bit better. Like, okay,
Yeah.
you're getting influence. You're basically winning people over, and
Yeah.
people see, oh, you're working for us, so we're going to work for you. Get agents, and of course, closing the rifts. It's a bit repetitive, but you always have different demons, and you have to be careful. It keeps you on your toes, and you have to deploy I'll keep your eye on the other guys while you do this and that. So to me, it never really got too tiresome, except perhaps in some places I had the same problem where you just kill a bunch of dudes, turn around, look back again, and there's another bunch of dudes that appear in the same place. It was a bit annoying in Dragon Inquisition. In Andromeda, it was just tiresome
Yes.
because it was like you're driving around, and oh, you have to go through the same place in the map like two or three, four times, like in the and what I call the empty ocean world, where is the criminal world, which is it feels like you're in the bottom of an empty ocean. Like
Yeah.
it looks like it has coral and stuff like that, and somebody just vacuumed up the ocean. Pretty cool
and
concept.
and that entire map makes no sense. So I'm so like this is a topic for another video with in relation to transmedia, but I guess there's a book that explains the uprising that happened in the 14 months that the Nexus
Mm-hmm.
arrived there and before the Hyperion found the Nexus.
Mm-hmm.
So all the Milky Way enemies that Ryder encounters are people that were kicked off of the Nexus because they were pissed off at management essentially. And they managed to thrive on this planet that I guess has Angara traders or people that don't want to be involved with Angara society.
Mm-hmm.
They've managed to take it over, and then they're just criminals, and they have their own society, and then they have their own versions of exiles that they're kicked out of the port, so they have to go try to survive out in this hostile world with that's just full of sulfur everywhere.
And there's so many. That's another aspect. Like I,
Yes.
I can understand like the cat or like local wildlife sort of popping up, But where are all these humans and Turians and Krogan and
And Asari,
showing
they're
up? It's like how many
yeah,
millions of people were in this in the main because it basically it's a ship. The station is a
yeah.
ship as well because it flew over them.
Well,
Like
it's not just that, but like how many were exiled? Like there
yeah,
should be a set number of them, and there's not. They just keep spawning. It's like, and I looked at my kill count, and it's like I've almost killed as many or as many Milky Way people as I've killed cat.
mm.
I mean, that was ridiculous. I'm like, and these are people. We're limiting the gene pool here. There's only like so many of us here, and we're supposed to start a new population.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things. I mean, start with the beginning. It's like, oh, you're the Pathfinder, okay, but there's only one really of you, and
Yeah,
it's such an important job. Why don't you have like a Pathfinder core? I mean, I understand the whole thing with the Sam and the connection. That's one thing. But to be like you're the Pathfinder, one ship,
yeah.
one Pathfinder. It's like no, you should have like dozens of people, hundreds of people. Because the thing about Sam is it has a special ability, which it's kind of weird that the special ability that Sam has is that they can interact with this new technology, which is important, but it becomes a bit too important. Like you couldn't expect that you would have to just find this random technology that would be precisely the thing that you need to make this place livable.
Oh my god, it just occurred to me. It's the fucking Inquisition hand. Because
Yeah,
that's exactly what he does too. It's
yeah,
like the hand.
yeah. It's like anchor, but the
Yes.
Inquisition it kind of makes sense because everything happens around that.
Yeah.
Here it's like, oh, we're going to a new galaxy. We don't really know what we're going to expect. We only have one Pathfinder that's the Pathfinder. Then we have each ship has its own Pathfinder. Even though the thing about going to this new galaxy is that we don't know what we're going to find. Instead of having hundreds of people trained, dozens, if not 100 people trained, to do the kinds of things that required you to look for new planets. And
Nope.
even in your crew, it's like, well, your crew are not really scientists. They're not
Mm-mm.
xenobiologists. They're not architects or engineers or any of that. It's like
No.
you have one scientist who sort of is a trippy girl that, I always say it's like a millennial, uh, as written by a sexagenarian, right? Somebody who's like,
Yeah.
the last days of the baby boomers wrote this character. She's the only true scientist, and the other scientist is maybe you. You can play like a scientist if you play female writer,
Yeah.
but male writer is just a soldier.
You got the doctor
But
who's
she's in the ship,
special. Yeah.
and the other scientist is a co-pilot in the ship. And if you follow her story path with the Romans, then she does some exploration, but she's not a member of the away team. So again, where's your
Yeah.
architects, your engineers, your computer hackers, all the people you would need, your archaeologists, your
Yeah. And
sociologists.
like PB is supposed to be, she's introduced as like, oh, I've been studying the Rembrandt tech. And you would think that she'd be more important or more like important in terms of like, oh, I need to bring her along to help me with like understand this technology because she's been studying it for a lot longer than I have.
Mm-mm.
No, she's completely pointless. She's superfluous. You Yeah, you don't have any scientists. You're just giving this title, this important title to, even though that Cora is supposed to be the one that's supposed to inherit the title if something happened to Daddy Writer, and
Mm.
no, he just gives it to you, and everyone just goes along with it because, oh well.
And also, I mean, okay, we'll talk about the supposed real reason because we get hints about they been the reason in the very end, I suppose, if you unlocked everything. But the game happens in the absence of that, and it doesn't
Yeah.
really get resolved anyway. It should have been resolved in a DLC or follow up game, or we'll probably never see. Certainly, we're not going to see DLC, so there's that.
No.
Um, but the stated reason and why everybody's there, apparently, we have their own reasons, personal reasons, is we're gonna colonize a new galaxy. But here's the thing: it's a 600-year trip one way. It's a 1,200-year round trip, unless you're a very long-lived Krogan, there's no way of going back. It's a one-way trip. It doesn't really seem to make any sense. I mean, I can understand someone just wanting, like, I don't want to go back to Earth. I just, or whatever, or
Yeah,
and escape, right? But then the Milky Way is a pretty big galaxy, right? So it's like there's plenty
yeah,
of places.
and and with the in regards to spoilers, once you unlock the last memory, that's when it's revealed that the entire thing is because of the Reapers. It's to preserve the species because of the Reapers. That's and
Which
that's
brings a lot of other questions, such as why didn't say why, and that okay, that brings me to the question of this was made by Biomare Montreal, and they made DLC for Mass Effect before. Not all the DLC, but some DLC, and done some other work. But here's the thing: the story from the point of view of Andromeda, looking back at Mass Effect, like you get asked,
Mhm.
"Oh, who is your shepherd?" Oh, this is your shepherd. It's like it's irrelevant, completely irrelevant. But again,
Yeah,
another sop to people who were like, "Oh my god, this is so great, and I want to keep my shepherd and whatever." Right, people who would stay loyal to the series. As well, many of the memory triggers are designed to be that, just that, right? You hear these sort of this Easter eggs and you know
yep.
and
It's
stuff
it's
like,
mostly Liara.
yeah, mostly are, which I love her, but she seems kind of out of place as well. Is that in many ways is a huge retcon to the
Yes.
Max Effect series? Like, oh, all this happened in not quite secret because
Yeah.
people in the initiative don't talk about it as if it were any big secret, which means
Yeah.
everybody knows about it. But of course, if you play the Mass Effect series and even the latest updates you might have gotten, at no point did Bioware go like, "Oh, well, we're gonna update, a website, or we're gonna update the original game, like Mass Effect 3, a little update saying, hey, by the way,
Yeah,
yes, people
or
know
Mass
about
Effect 2, just
this, yeah,
like, "Hey, join the initiative to travel to Andromeda," just like a random little news clip or just an ad.
all these people leaving. I mean, the connections to the original, like Liara knew about it
Yeah.
even before she became the Shadow Broker. Which you all knew
Yep.
about it. Shepard is not only an N7, like the lead Pathfinder.
Or,
Right?
Alec
Alec is an N7,
Alec Rider.
was an N7.
One of the first N7s.
Right, so they were in the same club as Anderson and Shepard and all that. He's also first human Spectre and also in charge of saving the galaxy from the Reapers. I think him knowing that, or they, 'cause it's a
Yeah.
hybrid character. Ryder's not a hybrid character, but Shepard is. Um,
They
that
would
they
have
were,
heard something about
yeah,
it.
it's like we had this plan to send people to another galaxy, right? And it kind of ways it kind of invalidates what happened in the Milky Way, because one or two ways, it was completely unnecessary because Shepard wins for given value of victory, right?
Yeah.
Life survives. So one can say that at least they survived the Reaper invasion. So life goes on. How do you feel about the endings? That's beside the point. But we can categorically say that the people of that galactic generation survive and continue. So they didn't all die out. The Reapers didn't wipe out all existence in the galaxy this time around. The cycle was ended in one form or another. That's an accurate statement to me about the Mass Effect 3 ending.
Yeah.
Um, so that's a thing, but at the same time, it's like, so the whole thing Andromeda, if that's the real reason, then it's, well, whoops.
Yeah. Well, so I'm not sure if you've watched like a video, but once you unlock the memory shard,
Hmm.
the last memory, which is it is the last memory is Alec talking to Garrus's father, which I it almost sounds exactly like Garrus, so I'm pretty sure it's voiced by the same
Actor, yeah.
player or the same voice actor. Just talking about, oh hey, Shepard believes in the Reapers. People think he's crazy, but my son believes him, and I think it might be true too. So if you're like this Andromeda thing, you need to get it going. And the way Alec and the oh, what's her name? I can't remember, but Jean Garson,
Jane Garson, yeah.
she's the founder of the initiative.
Hmm.
They had this mysterious benefactor,
Hmm.
no name, no face, because they use like this weird video thing that's constantly changing appearance
And voice.
and voice. And this is and they essentially give them money And it's also, if you do this memory quest, it's revealed that Jean Garson was murdered
Hmm.
by somebody who knew about this and knew her about the it had some relationship with the benefactor. We don't know if they came with us or if they stayed in the Milky Way. And she was murdered for some reason, and we never know. It's not resolved in the game at all. It's
Hmm.
just, oh, we have this information. And what's later unlocked in Alex's files is all the distress beacons that the Hyperion picked up on the way to Andromeda, which doesn't make any sense at all. Um, just like, the Alliance beacon, like, oh my god, these monsters named Reapers are attacking the Turians. Oh my god, these monsters are attacking. And then there's one from Liara. So this is probably one that takes that she sent sometime in the middle of the game,
Hmm.
essentially. Oh, hey Alec, I remember we talked about, I spoke to you years ago about this Andromeda thing. If you ever got it out, you these monsters named Reapers are attacking. So life in the Milky Way galaxy may never be the same. Please remember us. You might be the less things of the Milky Way left, the less species. Please remember us. Signing off from the crew of the S
It's
Normandy
as we normally.
SRV2.
Yeah.
No, from Godspeed.
I guess they can use quantum communicators, and there's a a recurring news article, sort of like voice
Yeah,
article saying, "Oh, we've been trying to talk to, get connections to the,
the
our
Milky Way.
American ancestors, but we're getting no reply."
Which makes me wonder, so did they like drop arrays? Like were the ships supposed to drop arrays as they go through dark space? Like communication arrays maybe?
I think there's just quantum entanglement doesn't have the distance as long as you
Yeah.
have the 2 points. But again, so many things can go wrong with 600 years separation, 600 years, because there's
Yeah.
no mass relays in the middle, right, or any other form of this. You need the mass relays in order to have the smaller the buoys, which are the com buoys, connected to it. So as explained in the original series. So there's that. Um, but even if the Reapers hadn't happened, it could literally be that if you have like a handful of quantum entanglement communicators, which are the only ways it can really breach the distance, the technology may have been obsolete. The places
Yeah.
might have been abandoned. They may have been destroyed in another war or something like that. Or people like, oh, well, that piece of a technology nobody uses somewhere in the citadel. Well,
At
now
some
it's
point.
buried. It's buried behind like 200 boxes or something. So it's beeping. It's like I don't what that. Well, we don't use that anymore. We have perfected technology. It's not compatible. Who cares, right? It's like a wrong call, wrong number, right? So many things can happen, and I think I go back to the original intent. I think that's the problem with Identity is that they try to have it both ways. They want to have this very
Yeah.
strong connection to the original games, but they also wanted to have a fresh start.
Yeah.
And you
It's like,
can't have one of you have to decide, right? And again, the thing is that if they have decided to truly have a fresh start, like literally say, okay, humanity came up in the galaxy and all that. Essentially, have humanity and everything that happens, the Turians, except the Reapers.
mhm.
And as part of space exploration, of course, that meant also no Shepard as well, because Shepard really, without the Reapers, it doesn't have a lot of points. So it's like, and at some point, humanity and these other races got together and said, okay, we have the technology, we're gonna go off to another galaxy. Much simpler, but I think, of course, the thing is like, oh, but what about my Shepard? What about the Reap? People who were attached to what happened and wanted to have all these characters, because even that final message,
Yeah.
it's it's pure fan service.
It is. And that's
It's
exact
it's
and
fan
there's
service.
I rolled my eyes at a lot of things that were like fan service. Like, oh, the first human baby born in Andromeda. Let's name it after David for my friend David Anderson.
Hmm.
Uh you had Okir, you had a reference to Okir and him working on a super
So,
soldier. You had a reference to oh god, that whole Project Overlord thing was such a
oh boy,
retcon.
that was a retcon. Like, if again, if you and
It's
this,
like,
yeah,
yeah.
I described it when I was playing. Like, if somebody had made that reference by reading like the back of the box of the like if it were in a box blurb or descriptor in a website like Project Overlord about taking over the gas or something like that rather than actually played it or have because if you play it you realize there was only one test subject and the reason why there was that test subject was because he had this special ability.
Yeah,
So
and I'm pretty sure it was just him and his brother that are the only survivors. So who the hell is she and who the hell is her son that they managed to escape the Overlord projects? Like that didn't happen. And then of course she referenced the elusive man and she references Miranda. There's a reference to
but never
Conrad
but never
Burger. Yeah.
never by name.
Yeah, never
She
by name.
or even Cerberus doesn't really get named either. It's like
No, there no, actually there's actually two other service scientists, not her, but
mhm,
they're doing some sort of weird mind control thing with some test subjects. And we're
mm,
like, oh yeah, we were part of this organization called Cerberus, and it's on the Kadara,
I,
the outlaw planet.
I didn't find them. I think
Yeah,
that's that.
it was pointless. It's just pointless.
Mm.
There's a you run into Conrad Werner's sister. Well, what the hell was the point of that? It's like, oh yeah,
Of all the people that could have gone into this place, she
yeah,
somehow no. And the thing is, like, she's Conrad Burner's sister. She got into the initiative, right? Because yeah,
yeah.
all these people are from the initiative.
Mm-hmm.
Goes to the new galaxy, gets kicked out of the space station, and then you
Yeah,
meet her, and she turns out to be even crazier than apparently than Conrad Burner. With Conrad
yeah,
never mentioned that he had any other family. In fact, the only
yeah.
family he mentioned was a made
It's
up wife.
yeah, which I thought that was a stupid retcon in itself. Like, oh, I have a wife, but I made her up this entire time. I've been lying to about her for years. Like,
Mm.
really? Like, that's such a weird retcon.
That was yeah. It would have been much better that she like divorced him or something. Like she
Yeah.
got fed up
I
with
mean,
him and like
I don't understand what was wrong with his explanation in the second one. It made it sound like oh yeah, sent him like she got rid of him
yeah,
like intentionally. Like, oh yeah, you follow your dreams, honey.
and
Go away.
yeah, that's I don't have to pay a lawyer or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you die, well, that's too bad.
I mean and then there was like the whole my boyfriend called it the hall of propaganda, the
Hmm.
cultural center or
I actually kind of like that in the sense that it would make sense for you to have like, oh, we're gonna be new species and you. That's one of the things I do like the parts of Andromeda. Again, I think where they focus on Andromeda,
yeah.
especially when they talk about not that so much the cat, but the species that Jarl is from, right? When they
Yeah.
do that, and the culture clash, and the fact they don't trust each other, and they have to earn each other's trust, and yeah, we had experiences with this before with other alien species, and a lot of people have said they come, we come in peace, and but you have weapons. By the way, where are the armed ships of the initiative? Now, mind you, I think they want to be peaceful, but yeah, I
You would have
mean,
prepared for that.
at least your ships would have like some kind of basic defenses. I mean, they have to be warships, but
Like
everybody
like
just
yeah.
could right into them. Like that really ticked me off. It was like, oh yeah, we already knew where your base was, so we just we took we control your bases now, so we can kidnap this person, and that's it. It was like,
I also didn't understand like why none of the Keth drop ships ever fired at me. I'm like, there's a spaceship dropping in at like ground troops. Why isn't it firing at me? I'm here. I'm just we're three people on the ground. You're in a spaceship. Your spaceship doesn't have weapons. You guys are like this like tyrannical warlord species and the cat we should probably talk about the cat next, but
mhm.
yeah, you have no weapons on your drop ships.
Well, the shuttles, human shuttles, didn't have weapons either until the third game, so there's that. But the gunships did.
Yeah,
So I don't know. I think it's because basically they were there just
yeah.
to give you more and more waves of enemies to fight. So it would have been very unfair, I suppose, if they also had guns and could
Oh
kill you
yeah,
from far away.
or just like, oh no, I have they're dropping enemies on it to keep me from picking them off as they jump down. Like I got to take cover because they're opening fire on me.
Hmm. And
But so
you can they have invulnerability. You can
yeah,
actually not shoot. That's the one thing you could do in like in Mass Effect 3, where like Cerberus would come in. You could shoot the enemies inside the shuttles,
yeah,
but in Andromeda, if you try to shoot them while they're deploying, no effect.
nope.
They have to start dropping out of the. It's like maybe they have a force field or something. I don't know. It's like, but
So
talking
then
about the cat,
yeah. So just they seem like they had an interesting premise, but it's just squandered. They have no real motivation other than it just seems like they were made evil for the sake of being evil.
yeah, or conquerors. They're just conquerors.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: they talk about a galactic empire, maybe.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: as far as we know, there is no um, method of fast communication and travel in the as in the Milky Way. There's no mass effect relays or the equivalent. We don't see like portals or gates
Yeah.
or teleportation. Even the very much advanced race that you meet, the precursors, right?
The
Uh,
Jordan.
yeah, we'll talk about that probably in the last couple of minutes. They don't seem to have that technology, mind you.
No.
The technology they have is it's sort of like mind blowing if you think about it. But on the other hand, it's like, but you don't have ways to just jump, cross galactic distances, which
Yeah.
means that how do they get? I guess they get messages, and it takes a while. So that's why these, he can do all the things that he can do. Basically, just they're essentially the Ket are you, but they're evil initiative, right?
Yeah.
They send a group of Ket to a new part of the galaxy, and with this commander, and they just do whatever, right? And then periodically send messages. Probably
Yeah.
take hours or
And
days or weeks or months to reach them, like from the Galactic Senate. It's like, well,
yeah,
good
and
luck
then
with that.
and apparently that the Archon, which is the main baddie, is gone rogue and is going against whatever their goals are just to get power and supposedly conquer this part of the galaxy.
Yeah, well, supposedly what you're supposed to do is because it's a basic assimilation plot, right? In many
Yeah.
ways, kind of like the Reapers. Reapers want to take people and make more Reapers. That's it, right? Whatever the Star Kid said, that's basically what they do, right? And rinse and repeat. So they want to basically do the same, right? But they do it, the exaltation, which is what they do here, which kind of makes sense. I mean, it's a basic sci-fi premise. You're invading a new galaxy. How do you deal with it? Their tactics at first seem pretty sound. They infiltrate, they trick, they use your own forces against you, that kind of thing. But this sort of Arkan obsession with
The Rembrandt.
remnants and trying to, it's hinted that the Ket hate AI, right? They don't distrust
Mhm.
it, but they don't want to destroy the AI. They want to use it for their own uses. There's a lot of things about the Ket and the rest of the galaxy that is not really explained, in part because, again, this galaxy, like the Milky Way, doesn't have the sort of mass communication format. So each sector, each nebula, it's disconnected, right? It's the Andromeda initiative. Andromeda is what would happen if you didn't have mass relays,
Yeah.
which the story itself doesn't really reflect in a good way, right?
Mhm.
And that also brings me to the final species that we haven't talked about, the godlike species. I mean, they're taken directly from Halo. I mean, they're the Halo aliens, right? The precursors. I mean, they are both kind of weak in one way, but also incredible powerful in other ones. Because, and big spoilers here, it turns out, and I kind of figured, I was like, yeah, this is what happened because the way the Jaws people talk about them and some of the abilities they seem to have, right? Like, okay, no, you people were they basically Jaws species was created to live in this part of the galaxy. The reason why, they're basically precursor style species. They created this species in order to populate this area. They talk about an enemy,
Yeah. So that means
but
that sort of means that there's two species then, because you got the ones that created the Angara and are responsible for all the terraforming technology,
yeah,
and the other species that attack them, unless it's the same species and just different factions.
But again,
And
it's not explained.
yeah, so but let's assume species 2.
Hmm.
Species 2 is also responsible for the space bush, as I've called it,
Yeah,
that's surrounding the entire cluster, which is this antimatter energy MacGuffin thingy
yeah, the
that's just
scourge, the
the
scourge.
scourge that's just causing issues with everything.
Yeah,
It's the source of all the problem.
they couldn't beat them, but so they basically sabotaged their technology so that it would create or be attracted
Yeah.
to the scourge.
Yeah.
And again, where does the cat fit in? It's kind of like it's like you take things from Mass Effect and match them with Halo. I feel that's what I felt like. I felt like I was playing more Halo than I was playing.
I've never
Uh,
played like Halo, so
yeah,
I'll take
yeah,
your word for
yeah.
it.
It's basically kind of like they have the species that was before and help, and depending on the version of the story, which is also a mess, either help humanity or humanity was there before, and it's a mess. But it's kind of like this very powerful species that create these huge halos, right? To defeat an ancient enemy, but these also were designed as places to preserve life and whatnot, and humanity somehow connected to them. So kind of like the Angarans and the species, right? But in this case, this species literally created the Angarans,
Yep.
and but they will also rely heavily on AI. But apparently, even though they're extremely powerful and sophisticated, a super AI from the Milky Way, from a species that can't do
Yeah.
any of that, because there's a part of this. This is a big spoiler. The core of their technology is not just like a big engine. It's literally a star.
Yeah, it's almost like a reverse Dyson sphere almost,
No, no,
like
it
it
is a Dyson Sphere, because what they did was that the station was built around this core, this star to power it, and around the as far as I understand it, the shell of the Dyson Sphere, which is the sort of modular block things that replicate. They were able to take the star, because to move a star and just move it around space like another
a
ship.
space.
Like, I guess they had the ability to reduce the mass of the star.
I guess, and the heat, because the inside of the core of the planet has its own gravity, and it's sort of like it has its own land and world.
Well, that's
Which,
what a Dyson sphere, a complete Dyson sphere, would be. They use the energy all from the from the star. It would be like several AU, like be like at least a one astronomical unit or more, which is the distance between the Earth and the Sun in our case. And the sheer mass of the Dyson sphere would create gravity, because
hmm,
just very massive. Um, so that, but they can actually move a star, and I guess they can reduce the mass of the star without destroying the star in the process. Because of course, if you alter the mass of a star, then you alter the nuclear reactions therein and whatnot, and just send it into space, and that's where you end up fighting, which is a pretty cool sequence. Especially if you've done a lot of the missions when you get friends
yeah,
and allies and they join you and all that. That's a pretty cool sequence. But you literally are able to unlock the technology of the people that can create self-replicating robots, armies, endless armies, right? I think that's why they couldn't be beaten, because these people can just spew robots after robots after robots after robots, right? Can move stars, as it were, like we talk about the Lensman, not movies, but books back in the 1920s and 30s, and create life at random and at will. A life that has supposedly had a complete history, and had their own AI and had their own history, and they believe that they have been there for millennia, and
yeah.
not
Well,
really.
actually, I think the AI may not have been Angaran, because the I know that that weird AI is complaining, yeah, like, oh no, they're not my people. Screw them. Like, no, I'm not Angaran. Or it's almost like it's complaining that it's being like worshipped and stuff by the Angaran. So I think that it may not be Angaran. It's just that, it has its own issues. It doesn't want to
Yeah,
interact or
yeah.
devolve anything.
I just killed it, but I know there's a video where you basically can take it. There's a middle ground where you can save both the person that the thing was about to kill, because he was trying to grab the AI. You can take the AI, the module, and then you put it. It ends up in
Sam's
Sam's quarters, and you talk to it, and it's like, oh yeah, I'm just here hanging around, and well, we're just two AIs hanging around. You're like, but you were crazy, and what?
Yeah, and it keeps trying to tell like it keeps trying to influence them. We should kill all humans, essentially.
Yeah, yeah. So it's
If
like,
you give it, you can give it to the Angara, and it just tells you, I freaking hate you. I hope you die. I want to die.
yeah. So it's a mopey AI
Yeah,
from Futurama, I suppose.
yeah. It doesn't. You might as well just let it die because it doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
that's pretty much the main issue with Andromeda. All these choices, you're given some choice, not very much, but none of the choices amount to anything.
yeah.
They feel so hollow. It doesn't feel like Mass Effect.
Yeah, I always feel like Andromeda was sort of halfway stuff. Like they went a little bit. I mean, more so than Dragon Age 2. I don't want to make that comparison, which I really felt like will go. They went a third of the way. Here they went halfway. Like, oh, we're gonna
Mhm.
give you this important mission. It's gonna be cool by itself, but in the larger thing of things, well, you get these points and stuff like that. Okay, keep playing, right? Um, Everything was halfway. I think they did, and they said they were not planning a trilogy, but I'm thinking that they were planning a whole series of games. You know
Yeah,
that was in the pipeline because they left so much. Like Casey Hudson says, you can't leave the story in the halfway and
yeah,
then
you yeah.
patch it by
Essentially,
DLC. You know.
yeah, essentially, you got what happened with the cat. What's up with the Primus? I kind of helped the Primus, and I'm not entirely sure if that last cutscene has anything to do with me helping him, like taking his deal and using the kill codes to make it seem like, oh no, he was destroyed or we disabled him. You got the Korean narc, and which also has like the Volus and the Hanar and Alcor. I'm not sure if it has the Batarians in it. I don't think. Or,
Mm. They're supposed to be in the multiplayer for some reason.
yeah,
They appear in the multiplayer, but you don't see
they
Batarians.
yeah, and you got that. What's up with the benefactor that not resolved? Then you, of course, you got the Jordan and the Angara being created. What does that mean?
Hmm.
All those plot threads just hanging there.
Yeah, and not in a good way. I think again, that's another thing. I think Andromeda would have benefited from being
Mhm.
a smaller game, a 20-hour game, maybe a 40-hour game, because
Yeah.
past the 40-hour mark, and it's about 60 hours or so, it's just like, okay, you're getting bored.
Yeah, and it took me 100 hours to complete
Oh.
the game, and by I mean complete, I mean like I got the platinum trophy for the game,
Mm.
and it was a drag. This game was a drag, and I can see that some of the character, like I can see this being a Dragon Age 2 thing with like everyone with certain fans migrating to these characters. I don't know if I would ever touch this game again. Just the
Mm.
like is there's some good parts in here. A lot of the interactions are good. Like the whole movie thing,
Yeah,
it's this freaking chain quest.
I never
It
finished
I
it. I
think
didn't finish it.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty good. But it's just you have to go through so much to get to it.
yeah.
And just the idea of having to, oh, go get the vitality of each planet like up to a certain point so you could put an outpost on every planet, and so you can get like the best of everything. It's just so daunting. I'm like, no, I don't ever want to touch this game again, even if I want to see everything.
The irony, I think, is they could have borrowed, if they want to borrow stuff from Dragon Inquisition, they could have borrowed the war table,
Yes.
a place where you
Well,
can
and
just, and there is an office. They do have an office, but a place where you can just sit there and go, okay, this is the, this is the cluster. This is the things that we're doing. This is a percentage here, a percentage there. Okay, this is what I'm doing. A place where you can just sit and sort of plan and decide how you're gonna deal with things.
yeah, and actually that would have been perfect with the outposts. And they sort of tried something like that with the strike teams, and then you got your perks, which was the whole like, oh, you raised enough vitality, you've made enough people happy, so then you could take people out of cryo, and they give you certain perks. But
Yeah, but that was all for the multiplayer. That was
yeah, well, like the perks one wasn't. It's
yeah.
all tied to your vitality, but then of course the multiplayer one, it, it's it was just so poorly like integrated.
Yeah, again, it shows. I think, and we one final note. I think, well, two final notes. First of all, it shows that they ended up having to basically remake the entire game 2 years into the lifespan of it. That took about 5 years. But one final note, going back to the lore of Mass Effect, is that such a project should have failed
Hmm.
because with Cerberus running around, with the Shadow Broken running around, with the Batarians, with the Reapers, right? I mean, hell, this project is something that I think one of the things that Sovereign would have done in the first game was make a beeline straight for it and just destroy it, or send like a
Yep.
Geth Armada to destroy it. Like, oh yeah, we're gonna, because here's the thing. Think about it. Think about the fact that, let's say that this is the ultimate retcon. Shepard fails in this version of the game, so the only people are survivors of Andromeda. They don't hear back from the Milky Way. They have a couple of hundred, maybe a century or so, or a generation or so, of having this ultra high tech thing that can make life, move stars, self replicate, can create entire fleets, coupled with their own technology. They know something's wrong in the Milky Way. They go back. This time they come back with a fleet of warships and stuff like that. They come back with all this tech that is way more advanced than anything we've seen in the Milky Way, right? Plus their own tech, which is something that's not even here as well, like the mass relays and stuff like that. They have a what, a 48,000 year advantage. They can literally repopulate the entire Milky Way with Solarians and humans, and rebuild everything because they have an army of robots and a way to create life. They figure that out. When the Reapers show up, it would be a Crumpstone battle. It's like, oh yeah, we've been waiting for you.
Yeah.
Here's our entire army of tens of thousands of ships that use energy weapons and can self-replicate and self-construct, and we have ways of cloning ourselves in such a way that if you kill 10,000 of us, there's 50,000 more, 100 million waiting in the wings, and we turn every planet into a fortress. We can actually literally build Dyson spheres around our stars. So if you come attacking, just filled with guns, and good luck trying to get through that. One of our stars, right? I mean, the again, it ultimately leads to the idea that Mass Effect Andromeda has an identity crisis. It tried to be way too many things, and it never really picked up anything. When it focuses, it's good. When it focuses on some of the characters, when it focuses on some of the species, when it does the thing in Andromeda, that works. When it tries to tie it all together, have a big baddie, kind of like the Reapers, but not quite. When it tries to reference back to the original, Mass Effect series, it's a bit of a mess. So it has a lot of, you have to sort of peel out of the rotten layers to get to the good things, and I think that's ultimately what's so exhausting. Like, I say, oh, do I replay the game? If the game had been shorter, I would, okay, fine, I'll replay it. But at 60 to 100 hours or so, I'm like, I'm not gonna go through this again. This is just too much, just to try to get those little bits of, of dialogue or jargon or whatever that might help me understand what's going on. So I said,
Yeah.
it's a one playthrough.
I kind of want, like, I have an idea of like a video I think would be fun to make, but just like just the idea of trying to gather up the footage and having to replay the game is just like, as much as I love my idea, I don't think I really want to do that.
Yeah, kind of. It's like I'll talk about Far Cry. Like, I'm thinking about making a video, but then it means I have to replay the game, and I'm like, oh, I still have it on my hard drive, but sure, right? Is it a bad game?
Patched up. We got to also put an asterisk on our opinion. We played it final product patched up as
It's ever gonna get,
BioWare's
yeah.
ever it's ever gonna get.
hmm So there were some patches that were required, facial animations, that sort of thing. Although there's still the some of them were hilarious. Like, I just laugh out loud every time Ryder tried to drink something, and he's male Ryder. It's like, I'm gonna drink something. Like, dude, okay, just put it down. If you don't like alcohol, that's fine. This is not an obligatory, alcohol. It's just let it was. And even the bartender, when he talked, was like, "Are you
Uh,
talking to me?" And I'm gonna put a final note in this, and I think there's something that runs. If Bioware ever listens to this and making any game, I don't care which game, Anthem, whatever. For God's sakes, if you're gonna have people who are not neurotypical, I don't know, either signal post them better or treat them with a little more respect, because they always end up being the butt of a joke. But you're not. I always feel like I feel uncomfortable because I don't know if I'm supposed to laugh, to cry, supposed to feel for them or whatever, and I always feel kind of upset. It's like clearly this person either is having a stroke right now or has some aspect that's not right. Same with Sarah. Remember the original when I talked to Jack originally, PB as well, right? But the designers don't, they create these characters and they don't know what to do with them, and I'm like, you gotta do better in the future. So that's my final note on that, or at least on characters anyway.
yeah. It's BioWare. Let's just hope Anthem is much better.
I think basically Anthem is just gonna be another MMO light.
It's
That's what
gonna
I'm
be
feeling. Yeah,
another Destiny with like,
yeah.
I guess, BioWare isms in it.
Mm-hmm. And not even that, because it doesn't. None of it looks like something that was really made by Bioware. I mean, what I
I
see in
know.
the screens are so generic. It's
I
like,
mean, I don't even. Is there gonna be any weird like fantasy species that I can bang? Like I don't even think I can hold out for that. Like, maybe a robot mech suit. I don't know, like a sentient robot mech suit.
I don't know. Well, that has been our a bit confusing discussion about Andromeda, because the game is pretty confusing. We probably touch us in the future, especially in light of what happens on E3 2018 and what they say about it. I'm sure they'll be mentioned. Well, not mentioned Andromeda, but Anthem will be, what they'll be talking about in Anthem will be talked about based on the experience of Andromeda and other recent games. So that is us for us for tonight, and I'm a bit sleepy. That's why I'm slurring my words. So thank you all for coming. And before we go, Chapelman, where can we find you on the interwebs?
You could find me at Chopomon pretty much anywhere. I am Chopomon_Aragon on Twitch and on Twitter.
Mm-hmm. And you can find me here as Lessons Learned 1. The 1 is also very important here on Twitch, and Lessons Learned on YouTube. This week, I'm probably going to continue with my design stream on Saturday night, and I will probably keep the chill stream going till tomorrow. That's basically Stardew Valley. Next week, crossing my fingers, BattleTech will be dropping, I think, on Tuesday. So we're going to be starting with that. And then we're going to continue just streaming on. So, and of course, on Wednesdays, Wednesdays, it was today, Thursday, but usually it's on Wednesdays at 9 o'clock. We have our podcast. So thank you all for coming. And I guess we'll see you when we see you. Bye.
Good night.